So welcome back to Cooking with Kevin and beautiful Lake Tahoe, and tonight we're going to make what I'm going to call guacamole onion rings deep fried in panko breadcrumbs. And what we're using is we have a avocado slicer, a juicer, a knife for the avocados. We got 6 avocados, a couple of white onions. You can use white or yellow or red, whatever you prefer. We got a couple of limes. We have some ground cumin, some cayenne pepper, some diced tomatoes with green chilies. We have some minced garlic. We also have some cilantro, and that's all going into the dish. Now I'm going to make a double batch. The regular batch just calls for 3 avocados, a lime, 1 onion, 1 tomato, but I'm using the diced petite tomatoes with green chilies, a 1/4 cup of cilantro, so we're going to make it a 1/2 cup of cilantro, and then we're going to need some flour, some breadcrumbs. I'm going to use panko breadcrumbs, and 2 eggs for the dipping. We're also going to need some oil for the deep frying in a big pan. So I'm going to start cutting up the avocados here in a moment, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the first step is to cut all your avocados in half and remove the pits. And be careful when you're removing the pits. You know, the best way is take a sharp knife and whack them in the middle and twist them and take them out, or use a spoon to remove the pits. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take my trusty little avocado scoop, and we're going to remove the avocado. Just slice through the avocado, cut through the meat. I find that best. And put that in and get all the meat out of the skin. And do that with each one of the avocados. And then we're going to put them in the bowl so we can mix it up with the lime juice. This works really well. It gets all the meat out, slices it up a little bit so it's easier to cut up later, so we can make our guacamole. It really works really well, this handy little avocado scoop. As you can see, it just cuts right through, slices it up, gets all the meat out. You know, make another swipe to get whatever is left in the skin. I'm going to do this with each one. Really a nice tool to have. It's not that expensive. It's probably $3.99 in a grocery store or at one of your cooking stores. They're pretty much readily available, probably in your produce department where you buy your avocados. That's where I found mine, and it's a great tool to have. I really found it quite useful in making guacamole. Really cuts down on a lot of the time in slicing these out, you know, rather than taking a spoon and having to chop it up and everything. And do that with each one. Get all that good meat out of the avocado. Slices it up really nice. The other thing is to make sure that you have really ripe avocados. They're so much easier to work with than, you know, hard avocados that you gotta let sit or they're tough to cut through. Just a really easy process getting the meat out of the avocados. See how quick and easy that is? It's really, really good. Okay, now that we got our avocados scooped out, I'm going to get rid of all the skins and pits and everything and throw them in the trash. The next thing we're going to do is squeeze our lime over that to coat it. Okay, so now we got the avocado in the bowl. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the limes and we're going to slice those in half. And slice those in half. And then I have my nifty lime juicer that I'm going to squeeze the juice out of the limes. And it works really, really well. And we're going to spread that juice over the avocado. Do each one. See it squeeze it out really nice. It's going to give the guacamole a really good flavor. And I just throw the limes down the garbage disposal, and it really cleans out the garbage disposal and makes it smell good. So that's all we're doing here. One more. Whoops. Okay. So we've done that with our limes. All the juice is in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slice this up. Get it all mixed up really well. Get it down to a nice fine mix. I prefer using a knife, whatever way you feel that you need to get this down to a good mix, whatever works for you. I prefer using a knife. You can use a potato masher or whatever to mash up the avocados. Get them into a thin mix. That's fine. I prefer this method. Really turns out well. It chops them down to a good portion and not into big chunks. And and it coats it as you're doing this as well. See how that's getting that to a really fine mix. Still have some chunks in there, but this works good. And like I said, you know, with the ripe avocados, you know, you don't have to worry about the big chunks because this slices up really nice to get a good mix. You know, you don't see a lot of big chunks in there. A few big chunks are okay, but mainly you want to get it to a fine consistency so it's not real chunky. Okay, now that I got that chopped up and everything, I'm going to add some seasonings to it. One thing I forgot is some kosher salt. I'm going to put a little bit of kosher salt in there. You know, probably about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. You know. And I'm not measuring it, I pretty much know what it is. You know, just get a good mix of kosher salt in there. Also, so for some flavoring, I got some ground cumin, and I'm going to add about a half teaspoon ground cumin to that. We're going to half teaspoon of ground cumin, and since it's a double, I'm going to make it a teaspoon. Mix that in. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of cayenne for a little bit of kick. So we got that added in. We're also going to add in 1 clove of garlic, and 1 clove of garlic is equivalent to about a half teaspoon. So again, I'm going to add a teaspoon of garlic to this. Mix that in there. So we got that. And we are also going to add the diced tomatoes. I'm going to open these up, and then I'm going to drain them to get the liquid off, because all I want is the diced tomatoes. And these already have some green chilies in there, so it's really going to add a nice flavor to it. And And then the next step is I'm going to cut up the cilantro and mix that in. I'll be right back. Okay, so we need, it normally calls for a 1/4 cup of cilantro, but for this, since I'm doubling it, I need a 1/2 cup of cilantro. So I'm just going to cut this off and then just start dicing it up. So I get it chopped nice and fine. I just love the smell of cilantro. It's so good. So I'm just going to keep chopping this up until it's finely chopped. You know, it's okay if you have some big pieces, but you know, I like mine pretty finely chopped, so it's very, very small, and I'll just keep doing this until I get to the consistency that I like. See how fine that is. I'll cut up some of the big pieces. Get it nicely chopped. I'm going to take my 1/2 cup. Fill it up with the cilantro. If you have a little more, that's okay. Cilantro is so good. I'm going to move this aside. Mix in my 1/2 cup of cilantro. Everything else. And then I'm going to just stir all that up. It's got a good blend. This is my basic guacamole recipe when I make guacamole for dips and tacos and everything else. But when I'm doing that, I normally also cut up some onion and put it in for this. But since we're making stuffed onion rings with this guacamole, I'm not going to do that because the onions are going to be our casing for this guacamole. See how nice that looks? Okay, so that's the guacamole. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator to chill for a little bit. And then we're going to come back and we're going to slice up the onions and start to stuff them. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is prep my onions. And I got 2 white onions here. And I'm going to peel them. And then once we peel them, we're going to slice them into slices. this is my worst part because they always make me cry. But I heard the secret to peeling onions so that you don't cry is to run them in cold water. Something to do with taking away some of the chemicals that cause you to cry. So I'm going to do that. Rinse them off. There's one onion, and now I'm going to do the second onion since we're making a double batch basically. Peel that off, peel the skin off. That outer layer off of there. Cut the other end off here. Under cold water. That really seems to help. Okay, now we're just going to cut it into good sized slices, not too thin, because we're gonna be stuffing these with the guacamole that we made earlier. Do that like that. Cut the other one into good sized slices. Okay, some of those broke in half. We're not going to use those. You know, we want the rings. So whatever didn't stay intact, we're going to remove, because all we want is the rings, because we're going to place those. Now that we got those cut up, we're going to place those on a cookie sheet with parchment paper. I'm going to take the rings, separate them, about as small as I'm going to go. I'm not going to use the real small sections. I am going to use these. These are great. These are good size. And get that skin out of there. little ones make good bite-sized pieces. And so we're going to fill this up as best we can. Doesn't matter, we're just trying to, get as much on here as we can, because then we're going to, like I said, we're going to stuff it with the guacamole mix, and then we're going to freeze these so that they become solid. So you get the idea. I'm going to do this with another sheet, then I'll come back and show you how to stuff them. Okay, now we have our onions all sliced up. We have them on cookie sheets with parchment paper, and now we're going to start to stuff each of those. And make sure they're nice and full. We have plenty of guacamole. Just fill each one so they're pretty much level. Drop some guacamole on the side here. Let's get that. Oh, that's so good. So we're going to do this with each one, fill them up, and then after we fill them up, we're going to put them in the freezer. So this is the process, filling up each one. Then after we fill up all these, we're going to put them in the freezer, let them freeze till they're solid. We'll be back. You get the idea. Okay, so here we have the onion stuffed with the guacamole, and we're getting ready to put them in the freezer. So probably going to be about an hour or so for these to freeze solidly. That's what we want. And we'll come back and check them out, and then we'll deep fry them, and we'll coat them and deep fry them and make them a delectable side dish. Okay, so here are the last of the onion skins stuffed with the guacamole. They're going in the freezer, and as soon as they're fully frozen, then we're going to take them out, We're going to dip them in egg and flour and panko breadcrumbs and deep fry them, and then you will see the end result. Stay tuned. Here's a tip: when you're making these things and you're freezing them, you want to make sure that they're fully frozen. You want them to be like hockey pucks. You want them to be rock solid. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the dipping sauce. And there's a couple different ways you can make the dipping sauce. You can either use just straight sour cream. You can do sour cream with some lime juice. But what I'm doing, because I like it a little bit spicy, I'm going to do some sour cream, and I'm also going to mix in some sriracha mayonnaise, because I like mine with a little bit of kick. So I'm going to add some sour cream, probably about 3 tablespoons full. Put that in my container. And then I'm going to squirt in some sriracha mayonnaise. Give it some kick. Going to blend that up. I'll taste it as I'm doing it. Just to make sure it has the right consistency and flavor. So I don't want it too spicy, but I want it spicy enough. And I'm going to add some more. Need some more kick. Stirring, taste it. It's almost there. Got a little bite to it. But I just want a little bit more. So we're gonna that is just right. Just mild enough, just enough kick, nice and spicy, and that's what we're going to use for our dipping sauce. So as our onion rings stuffed with guacamole are freezing, we got the flour and panko breadcrumbs, and we're going to have eggs to bathe them in, and then we got the oil that we're going to heat up. Probably heat it up to about 350 degrees so that we cook these in the oil. They're going to toast up real nice, and we'll have a real good treat when we're done. Okay, so we're freezing our guacamole filled onion rings, and we want to make sure that they're nice and frozen solid. You know, they're getting to the consistency of a hockey puck. We want to make sure that they're fully frozen, because if we don't, then when we coat them and fry them, they're just going to disintegrate and fall apart. So we want to make sure that they're fully frozen. So we're right now about 2 hours in, and we got a little bit longer to go, and we'll check them in a few minutes, probably 15 to a half hour, and make sure that they're frozen solid before we start to deep fry them. Okay, it's been about 2.5 hours for the guacamole onion rings to sit in the freezer, and they're almost done. But now we're getting ready to heat up our oil. We're getting it heated up on high. We want it to be very hot, about 350, 375 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we have flour and panko breadcrumbs, and we're going to whisk together 3 eggs. And then the sequence that we're going to dip them is we're going to dip the guacamole onion rings in flour first, then egg, then we're going to dip them in the panko breadcrumbs, we're going to re-dip them in the egg, and then back into more breadcrumbs before we put them in the oil. And I'll show you that as soon as we have the frozen guacamole onion rings ready to go in about 20 minutes. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're almost ready to start to deep fry our guacamole filled onion rings. We got about 5 minutes left. I got the oil heating up. I got flour and egg and panko breadcrumbs ready to dip those in, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes and start cooking those. Okay, here we go. We're going to coat the guacamole filled onion rings and deep fry them.
Yes, I'm an associate. I work for a financial advisor.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're here.
So we're going to do the flour first,
Yes. Talk to your healthcare provider.
then the egg wash,
Still need a booster.
then into the panko breadcrumbs, and we're going to do the egg wash again, and back into the panko breadcrumbs.
Today's contestants are a trivia writer from Frederick, Maryland,
And then into the oil.
a musician from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Katrina Mundinger, and our returning champion, a bookseller from Somerville, Massachusetts, Danny Moriando, who one day had winnings totaling $22,300. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Freeman.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you were watching yesterday, something unusual occurred on our program. Annie
who had the game won at the end of Double Jeopardy, couldn't be caught, made a substantial wager in Final Jeopardy and could have lost the game. Let's see what develops today as she faces Katrina and Bill. Here we go, into the Jeopardy round. And we begin today with these categories. Word puzzle. That sounds like fun. Details on the Best Picture Oscar winner. Followed by American literature, Like a Boss, The March of Time, and finally, also known as, a.k.a. Annie.
I'll take American literature for 600.
Answer. There we go. All right, we're finding it. Early. Very early. You have no money. In on the draft.
I'll win your back.
Okay, here's the clue. This book begins in the village of Jupuli. A man-child was born to moral and business intake.
What is Ruth?
Ruth is the book. Yes. And now the Daily Double is on.
I'll take American literature for 800.
The luck of this noisy-sounding camp is a not-so-cheery story by Bret Hart. Bill, where's Laura? Good. With 1,000. The narrator of this whole story says, the disease had sharpened my senses. Above all was the sense of hearing. Annie.
What is the telltale heart?
Correct.
American literature 400.
Her delicate beauty must avoid a strong light is a description of her in A Streetcar Named Desire. Bill, who's blank? Yes, Nancy Walk. Best picture 1,000. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. It was Paul Schofield as Thomas More. Bill, who's a man for all seasons? Yes, Oscar winner 8. Let's Play House. The Bard fiddles with viola. Bill. What is Take Care of? You got it. Oscar winner 6. Johnny's Not So Friendly. What's up, shop workers? More than a contender for Best Picture. Bill. What is on the waterfront? Good. Oscar winner 4. Who buys the word? And much more importantly, going on a game show can make all your dreams come true. Katrina.
What is Robot Millionaire?
Yes.
If you were word puzzles for 200.
I'll have mine with vanilla ice cream. Bill, with a banana split? Yeah.
So you can see that we're coating these and put them in the oil and frying them up, and they're really turning out quite nice. And we're going to keep doing this until we get all of them coated and fried. You know, a little time consuming, but well worth it. You know, we might need some more egg and panko, but this is the process.
Back to you, Katrina.
400 like a box.
After Hewlett Packard parted ways with this woman in 2005, she got paid like a boss with a $21 million severance. Bill, who's Syria? That's it. Katrina. Literature 2. In this novel, Holman Caulfield has an older
They're really
named
turning out
Phoebe
quite nice.
and a little sister named Phoebe. Good. Put the second up. Good. Oscar winner 200. We'll never enjoy fava beans and a nice scone with the same one ever again. Katrina?
What is Silence of the Lake?
You are right, and with that, you're back on the plus side with $400, and Bill has scored 400 in the lead as we take our first break today. Why spend every waking moment thinking about Meals only $24.95 a month. Call today at 866-200-7033. Let's connect more. Listen up, get a brand new Mystery Johnny's Mystery 2 menu. Let's get a Mystery 2. Come in and pick your 2 hot and tasty Mickey D's crackers for just $5. Choose your favorite. A Big Mac made with 100% beef, flaky filet of fish, Sears quarter pounder with cheese, or crispy chicken McNuggets for just $5. Grab your crew for a great tasty 2 for $5 deal today. Welcome back. Bill Packrat is a trivia writer from Maryland. And he did something adventurous, something that I don't think I would ever do. And that is, he jumped off the plane. First of all, where did this take place?
Yeah, so me and my friend Chad went to a quarry in West Virginia. It's illegal to go there and trespassing, but we did it anyway because of course we were in the mood for an adventure. So it was like 50 feet. It was like a quarry about 300 feet deep, all water, and we swam across the lake, climbed up, and jumped off, and it was flat. No problem. Lucky.
Katrina Montana. Montana. So, from Minneapolis. A musician who
Classified himself as a violinist advanced.
Yeah, I've been playing clarinet since 1979, and majored it into school. Because I love the clarinet so much that I just want to share great performances of it by others. I want to share with my students how to make different sounds so that they can love it as much as I do. Just sharing the clarinet.
Good for you. It's a great story. Annie Oriondo is from Massachusetts. She is a bookseller who in her spare time is a singer.
How are they?
Yeah.
Are you on film?
Singer-songwriter, what kind of music are we talking about?
Kind of an acoustic folk type of music.
Acoustic folk. You play guitar?
Yes, I play guitar and a little bit of piano.
Of all of the great folk singers, performers from the past, who would you list?
I'm a huge fan of Richard Thompson, and more recently, Vienna Fan.
Okay, good. Let's get back into this. Katrina, you're at the end of the board. You take the next two for us, please.
Let's take the March of Time for $200, please.
March 9, 1959, the American Song Fair is coming on party for this 11.5-inch balloon. Bill, too far, he's right.
March of Time 1000.
March 3rd, 1861, Tsar Alexander II issues a manifesto freeing these peasants. Katrina?
Who are the third?
First is right.
AKA for $200, please.
An artwork, La Gioconda. Bill,
Mona Lisa.
yes.
Like a Boss 800.
NPR fans know Harvard Business Review listed the CEO of Novo Disc as 2015's best performing CEO in the world. No it is. Back to you, Bill. Word puzzle 6. With this phrase, there's not a lot of progress being made. Annie?
Put a step by step.
No. Bill?
Work a step out of line.
No. What is one step forward? 2 steps back. Back to you, Bill. Puzzle 4. Frequency of polarity. Bill?
What is one step movement?
Good.
Like a Boss 1000.
In 2015, this ex-Microsoft man and LA Clippers owner was the richest sports team owner in the United States with $21.6 billion. Katrina?
Who's Mark Cuban?
No. Bill?
Allen?
No. Steve Ballmer. Back to you, Bill. Box 6. Running up the score before halftime.
So as you can see, we're slowly cooking these in the oil, and as soon as they're done, I'll show you what the end result is.
March 8.
Okay, this is the finished product, and we're about to try them out. They've been cooked, and they're so golden, and I'm going to get the dipping sauce here in a minute, and we're going to try them out. Okay, so they're done, and now we're going to try a few of them in the dipping sauce that we made earlier. Say sour cream and spicy sriracha mayonnaise.
For this nation.
Oh
What
my.
is
Oh,
nothing?
that's good.
Pick again.
Let's go to pick up the tab for 1600, please.
From French, a picturesque scene. Danielle.
What is a tableau?
That's right.
Wow.
Pick up the tab for 1200.
That
Kindle
is
fire or
simply
Noreen?
What is a
amazing.
Yes.
I mean, look at
Pick
that.
up the tab for 800.
Things are hot in this state in southeast
So
Mexico.
crunchy. Got the guacamole.
Yes.
Gonna dip
Pick
it
up
in
the
the
tab for
sauce.
400.
It wasn't forbidden to introduce this Tongan word into English. Katrina.
What is taboo?
That's the word.
2000 tab.
Look at that.
Is the key to this Middle
So
Eastern
creamy.
salad. Danielle.
What is tabbouleh?
Yes.
I think for 400.
In a 2015 hit, George Ezra rhymed this tidal European capital with treasure chest. Katrina.
What is Budapest?
Yes.
I think 800, please.
Don Henley said of this Eagles co-founder who passed on in 2016,
That's
he
good.
was like a brother to me. Katrina.
So it's
Check out my video
1200, I think.
and
Even named Academy of Country
learn how to
Music
cook these.
Female
It is so good.
6 times
Thank you
in a
for
row.
watching.
Noreen.
It was pretty